Sheets should be back hopefully by lock. We don't know yet for sure, but hopefully he can make it. And I'll go through my thoughts now and go through each game, and then we will have Sheets later to go through what he thinks, hopefully. Anyway, I'm going to ask you guys to please hit the like and subscribe and all that stuff. I also want to remind everybody, for a very limited time only, we have some free trials going on for the Ultimate package from SaberSim. If you haven't had a chance yet to check that out, I suggest you do it. I want to remind everybody that we have all the SaberSim stuff. We've got all of Sheets' projections, all of Goldie's projections, all of my content, Rody's, Brandon Cruz, Chan's for League of Legends, esports type of stuff. So we've got a lot of offerings, and we're basically charging a similar price to SaberSim. So we'd hope that you guys could come and join us if you get the chance. With that said, I'm going to jump into game by game for today and go through sort of what I like, and we'll figure it out from there. So, all right, let's start off with Minnesota at New York. I'm looking over at the weather and stuff at the same time while I'm looking at these games, just FYI, because I do want to peek, and I think it's relevant in some of these situations. This is one where you have wind blowing in like 8 miles an hour for what it's worth. I love Gil here. As of right now, I'm going to put the tag on him. He is definitely one of the guys I'm strongly considering tonight. I don't mind Bailey Ober as a contrarian play. I don't think anybody's really going to go there. You could see the K expectancy over here from SaberSim with Gil, right? I can't imagine anybody's going to be much higher than that. Maybe Imanaga will be right around there. But Bailey Ober, that feels a little bit low. And as good as these Yankees are, they at least have some chance that there are some strikeouts in that lineup, and it's in Minnesota and the wind's blowing in. So if you took a shot, I wouldn't mind it, but probably not the right slate. I do think Gil is a high priority. Never going to argue with the Yankees stack. You'd see what I did. I took Goldie's projections. Goldie's show up at the far right, and you can just drag them over to the front because this is Goldie's ownership after the first runs this morning. You can see a very low-owned Yankee stack should certainly be on the board, but is not something that we are going to prioritize at this moment. Same thing. Well, not same thing. I can't get to anything from Minnesota. They're cheap, but it just doesn't make sense on this type of slate to get there. Jumping over to Baltimore and Toronto. We've got Burns, and I don't even know for sure if we know who's pitching for Toronto yet. I'm trying to look at the updated thing. I guess you've got Richards and Francis probably, but I don't really know what to do with that. So either way, not going to consider them as pitchers. Don't love stacking against bullpens. I do think Corbin Burns is obviously always in play. I have him a little bit behind Gil today for what it's worth, but I'm totally open to the idea of maybe getting to some Burns. You have some good pitching today. Baltimore feels like a great spot, even though, again, I don't love stacking against bullpens, but this is a bullpen they're trying to piece together like innings, and I don't know. I feel you still have a near 5 total for Baltimore today. I think this is a good spot we can attack Baltimore. I'm always looking for excuses to play Baltimore. Elite level offense, and certainly don't mind the idea of getting to them today. As of right now, I do think that they are one of the better, lower owned stacks, I would say. I think their pricing being so high is going to, keep them lower owned. So I'm totally good with the Baltimore stack as of right now. They are between the first 2 games, they're the one I like the best in those games, not getting any Toronto. Fried and Cutter Crawford. Fried, look at this, 9K and 30% ownership. That's a little surprising against Boston, but Fried's been good, and Boston has been really bad, or not really bad. Their offense struggles at times. Cutter Crawford, I don't think I can get to against Atlanta here, but I really don't mind any which way you want to talk about this game. I could get to some Atlanta bats. I could get to Cutter Crawford a little bit. I could get to Max Fried, probably not to that 30% ownership. I don't think I would get to that high of ownership on him today in Boston. It is 66 degrees in Boston for what it's worth. But again, obviously, as we know, one of the best hitters parks in baseball. So not necessarily weighing all that much into it. But yeah, I think that Atlanta would be the highest level of interest of anything in this game for me. And even that is sort of the little bit more fringy. Remember, we have no Acuna in there, and the lineup is just not quite the same. However, you get Atlanta in Boston. Crawford he's a good pitcher, but it's not like he's not gettable. I don't believe Atlanta has ever seen him before. Oh, actually, you know what? He did face Atlanta already, and he actually pitched pretty well in that game. But he's been just solid enough to where I may not want to poke Atlanta. But again, they're a fringe stack for me, just sort of on the outside looking in at the moment. Moving over, we've got an hour break between the first games and this one. Here's where we're going to have some issues, because there is definitely some weather concerns in Chicago. Now, I still think that if this game plays, you have, 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field. And that's sort of like 20 wins most places because it's Chicago and that's the way it works. Cubs with a giant, we see 5.4 on here. The actual run projected total line is 6.2. And I think that's obviously you could see where the chalk is going to be going outside of Coors is going to be going to Chicago. I don't mind it at all because it's flexing. It's wind blowing out game in Chicago. I do really like it. I don't know if I can do it at the whatever ownership it comes in at. It might be higher. And also we have, shout out to Roth for Roto Grinders. He does the best job of any weather person in the industry. He had this game as yellow-orange to start. So you definitely have to take into some risk here. And it's a 10-game slate, so maybe we don't want to do that. But we'll probably have a better idea about that around 5:30, 6 Eastern time. Certainly when we come on at 6, I'll have a better idea of what I'm going to do with this game. But as of right now, Imanaga and Gill seem like the two obvious spend-ups. You can see we looked at Gill at the 6.77 prop. Imanaga is a little lower, but he's also been harder to hit, and it's the White Sox who don't hit anybody. So I am pretty good with the idea of Imanaga, and I definitely like getting to some Cubs. The problem is just the ownership compared with the weather, et cetera, et cetera. But I do have the Cubs rated a little bit ahead of Baltimore, but considering ownership, maybe just a little bit behind. All right, Detroit at Texas, and we have Flaherty and Dunning here. There is 0% chance that I'm playing. I mean, as of right now, there's a 0% chance. Flaherty's been awesome, and look, maybe I should give him a little more respect. I am not going to play him here against Texas. I don't believe. I still believe in Texas's offense as being elite, and I know they haven't been as good this year, but I do think this could be a spot where you could go, completely, you're not getting that much ownership, so you're not really getting like off the board with it. You have some ownership for Detroit, partly because they're so cheap, but nobody's going to play Texas. And I don't think you should necessarily stack Texas against Flaherty, but I don't mind getting like a mini stack at 0 ownership. These are elite level bats, especially when you get to the top of the lineup for Texas. So just something I'm considering. Still early in the day, I have a lot of time to make my decisions. Both pitchers obviously in play, but I just can't see myself getting to Flaherty on this slate. Which, hey, maybe that's a mistake, but that's where I'm at right now. And Dunning, it feels like a lot. Well, it doesn't feel like a lot. It's 8K, but are you getting enough of a discount versus the other guys? You can see the K props. He always does pretty well with the K props. Dunning, only 5.1 today. Flaherty at 6. Just a spot where I probably end up doing nothing. But if I did anything, a mini Texas stack is definitely in my creative ideas going. Maybe that's not a good thing. My creativity hasn't worked out quite as well this year as it has in years past, but we'll see. Anyway, I want to take another quick moment to remind you guys to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Also want to remind you, I'm sorting by Goldie's ownership here because I always drag it over. Remember, it shows up at the back the same way my core plays show up back here. I usually just drag them over to the front. I'll have my core plays up for our premium members a little bit later today. All right. Arrighetti and Palante. So St. Louis, look, Chief was talking about it on there. They kind of got there last night in a way. I am confused at what to do here because I like Arrighetti. I think that's where I would lean as my spend down of the names we've talked about so far, at least. He's cheaper than Dunning, and it's St. Louis, who's been really bad. We just saw a big ceiling flash from Arrighetti. He's got a reasonable K prop for that price. I think it's something we kind of want to get in business with. So I'm okay with that for sure. And I am also the stack that never gets there that we all play. I might play him again tonight. Houston rates for me just behind Chicago and Baltimore of the teams we've talked about so far. They are not getting much ownership. They have an implied 6 total. You've got Palante on the mound. I feel like this is a good spot. Cardinals have been really bad. Bullpen's been wishy-washy. I think this is a spot where we could definitely take advantage and play a low-owned Houston stack. So I've got them right now third in my stack interests. And you can see the actual run total projected for them around 4.9, 5.1 here on SaberSim. I think that this is a spot where I definitely am open to taking some Houston. All right, let's get it out of the way. The Coors game. We are likely not playing either pitcher, although I will have to say that when I first looked at the slate this morning, I was like, I wonder if I can get away with playing Montas. I wonder if I can do it. Another not especially high total, although they got there pretty easily last night, especially in the Reds case. 10.5 total here in Cincinnati. And you've got winds blowing in from left, almost crosswinds, but mostly blowing in from left at 12 miles an hour. It is 80 degrees though, so I'm not really feel like everything sort of negates itself out. I'm curious what they have as the K prop on Montas today. So let's take a look. 4.79. Again, for that price, I'm going to put Montas on my list for right now. I don't know where he's going to end up, but I certainly don't mind the idea of getting to some of it. No, never going to play tie block, but I do like Cincinnati, and they're going to be so popular. But the problem thing is, like, if no one's playing Montas and no one's playing Colorado, I think we just have to put like Colorado, like, and Montas, I think having, if you're playing 150, let's say, I think you'd want to be overexposed to Colorado. And I think you'd want to be overexposed to Montas. You want to probably be at least double the ownerships of both of them. I don't know that I'm going to get to them in my, few single entry, not single entry, my few, small fields, high buy-in tournaments. But I definitely don't mind it. The Colorado side especially seems to be what no one's doing today. We'll see if that sticks to be the case later today when we rerun the projections. But Cincinnati clearly going to be the chalk. They're also very expensive, so it's made it like a little bit lower owned than they would have been otherwise because they aren't so pricey. So yeah, Colorado, Cincinnati obviously you're gonna be interested in both sides of it. I actually think the Cubs may end up more popular. We'll have to see later on today with how the weather is in that game. But yeah, I don't need to go way into it. Cincinnati is a good offense playing in the best hitters park in baseball, and I would especially like the lefties, unfortunately, and you've got mostly righties with the wind blowing in. Again, it's Colorado. The ball will still travel, but just something to think about if you're looking for reasons to fade. That would be one thing you could justify it with. But overall, yeah, it's really hard to say this game is off the table, but it's probably just going to be for me 4 or less if I'm going to play Cincinnati. Colorado, I don't mind a full stack because I don't think they're going to end up. I don't think anybody ends up double-digit owned from Colorado. Maybe one guy, maybe 1 or 2 bets, depending on how the lineup comes out. All right, moving over to San Diego, LA, and I'm just gonna take a quick look because I'm in Santa Barbara right now, and it's been kind of cool. It's 71 tonight, a little bit warmer than usual. Or usual this time of year. Not even this time of year. More warmer than what it's been. Let's just say that. Angels and San Diego. I actually think you could make a hero tournament idea with Sandoval. He was really good against the Yankees his last time out. I don't mind the idea. It's not probably something I'm going to do, but I do have him just below Arrighetti and honestly, and probably a little bit below Montas. But I think you could definitely get away with it. There is a path for it. I'm gonna have to check out a little bit more of San Diego's numbers versus lefties this year. Historically, they've been very good against lefties. Just want to see where they're at this season. Only a 4.6 implied total. Then you've got Missouri on the other side. I don't think that I can do anything here with that. I also am not getting to the bats, and it's weird because the Angels have actually sneakily have the 5th most home runs in baseball. You see ownership on Tatis, always good against lefties. I understand it. I have this game as probably a pass for me, but certainly one I'm willing to look at again later today to see if I want to do anything. You have some cheap bats in San Diego. You've got, again, a sneaky power offense in the Angels who they don't hit much, but when they do, they hit home runs, which is obviously something we like in DFS. So yeah, it's just sort of keeping this one on the radar for now. Not sure what I'm going to end up doing with it. All right, Seattle, Oakland, we've got Kirby and Mitch Spence. Mitch Spence is 6,500 now. Okay, I'm just taking a quick look at this. Let me just see a quick thing because if they let Spence go a little deeper, I think you could throw him into your mix of cheap guys to consider. We know Seattle strikes out more than anybody in baseball against righties. They also sneakily have a 4.8 strikeout line in a 6,500. So I'm throwing him into the mix as if I decide to want to spend down and do the weird silly thing, that would be what I do. All right. So anyway, but Kirby, obviously a very, very strong play, 8,800, only a 5.5K prop, but it is Oakland. They faced him a number of times over the past couple of years, obviously in the same division. And Kirby's really good. He's a really, really good pitcher. He's cheap enough to where I think I want to put him as another one of my semi-priorities, one of my top 5 at least. So I do have Kirby as a strong play. And this game is in Oakland, but it's 80 degrees in Oakland today. That when at game time, I don't know what's happening up in the Bay Area. It's never like that. I think that I might want to stack Seattle. So I have Seattle as a very, and as you can see, it's not quite as groundbreaking of information as I thought it was going to be. I really liked the idea of getting to Seattle when I thought they were going to be super low owned, and they're still low owned, but not quite as low owned as maybe I thought earlier in the day. But I'm good with the Seattle idea, and I'm good with Kirby from this game. So we've got a lot of stacks to decide from. I'm gonna sum it up when we're done with the last game in a minute. But yeah, I like Kirby and I like Seattle. All right, let's move over to San Francisco, Arizona to close things out. I'm 90% sure the roof is closed today because they said it was going to be closed for this 3-game series. So we're gonna go on that. And then we've got Blake Walston and Kyle Harrison, which makes me feel like we should probably be doing something with this game, hitting wise. 9.5 total. I think my hitting interest would lie more with San Francisco, but I certainly don't mind getting to some Arizona. I just think that you got Moreno batting second, which he did last night. You'd assume he would again against the lefty. Marte is expensive, but not expensive for Marte. And then all of San Francisco is super cheap. And there's power upside for Arizona. So lots to choose from today. Here's what I've got as here are my teams that I'm going to be considering for my main stacks. Baltimore, Chicago, Houston, Colorado, Cincinnati. But Cincinnati, I'm making sure I have 4 or less. So I'll only use them as a complementary stack or as a 4-4, unless I do the weird pitching thing with and I use Montas with them, something I could do. The other ones are Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona. More on the San Francisco side than Arizona, but and then again, I like the idea of a mini Texas stack, but it's not a lot to choose from. It's first look, so we'll have it more pinned down by later. But those are the teams I'm considering right now. Pitching for me will be my favorites are Gill, Imanaga, Arrighetti, Kirby, all in different price tiers except for the Gill Imanaga. And I'm going to have to take a look about Imanaga and the Chicago Cubs, depending on how the weather looks later today. So good luck to everybody today. I hope you guys crush it. Excuse me. Sorry, there's something wrong with my throat. But yeah, should be a fun week. We've got another golf tournament coming up. We got the Memorial on Thursday, and then we got the U.S. Open next week. That's pretty fun. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing great. What's up to my man Ken in chat, and don't forget to like and subscribe before you get out of here. Thanks for watching the little preview. Be live at 6 Eastern to go over